Today, one of those calls I made got back to me. And even though it was, again, for more referrals still, it was a lot. It was very helpful. It was very, very helpful. The person on the other end, it was very, very hospitable. And it definitely brightened up my day. Even though I'm stuck in this situation at the moment, and some things look up, some things look down, and other things there's just no way to tell which way they're going to go. I am very thankful to that person for the helpfulness, and it did relieve some of the sting of just getting more referrals. But the person was also very, very informative, and they gave me lots of very helpful information. They asked a ton of questions about the situation and did the best they could to help me. And they even texted me afterwards, and even 30 minutes later, the person was texting me more links and help, and I said thank you, and it definitely, even though there was no solution reached, and it was, more options and things like that, and just trying to figure out what to do, just that one positive interaction, it felt really good. I think that's some of the most help that anyone has given me or offered or any, that's the most anyone has gotten involved, asked how I'm doing, and just things like that, and it felt really good. But I'm not really sure if I'll have as much to talk about today in this. Let's I'm trying to think. I feel pretty good. I feel pretty good. And it's kind of like movies and things like that. You're sort of in that one consistent mood, but in real life, it feels different being able to be in a poor situation and just being able to laugh or feel good about something or being happy and things like that. But at least today, at least one of those links, it sent me to something, and I filled out a form. I don't know if I'll hear back or if that'll become anything, but I am glad that I got to do something at least. And trying to think about reflecting on the events of my day, good or bad, but my days aren't quite so eventful. Um, Filled out more job applications. I sent more things off. I've been trying to build lots of habits and routine. In the past, I had a pretty poor relationship with my creativity. I always used it when I was miserable, and I tried to use it to force myself into different moods. I would drag it across the concrete and beat it and trying to get it to be something that trying to get it to be in a moment where it really couldn't be. And I'm learning more and more how to respect it and treat it as the time it should be, with the effort that it needs, with the love that it needs, with the mindset that it needs, the form of discipline that it needs, and not taking it too quickly, and allowing the habit to form, but not trying to force it into something that I'm not quite ready for, but still taking steps closer. One of those things is drawing the thumbnails for these videos. I'll just I don't really listen back to the audio because I don't have the energy to edit it, which is, it's ironic. I do a lot of editing. I have done a lot of editing. I've done lots of graphic design and drawing and illustration and souping all kinds of things up to look as professional and kempt, and then, but these are just my personal thoughts, and really this is as unedited. It's easier for me than pulling out a book or a sketchbook and writing down all kinds of things and doing that. It's just speaking. It's the words are already there. I don't have to wait for my hand to catch up or anything like that. It just makes things a lot easier. I also realized the other day that I'm still pretty poor on finding any leisure time or time to enjoy myself when I'm alone. When I'm alone, it's just working, applications, studying, and even when I have a free time to even when I have the free time to maybe, I don't know, sit down and watch a TV show or play a game or read a book, I just fill it with more working. Before, that kind of time always felt like it could be, not always felt like it was at any moment, it could be taken away. It could be disrespected, lost, completely disregarded, and so I always felt stressed. I always had to look behind my back. That it was going to be treated as meaningless. And and it's another thing when anything that's your interest, anything that's could be weaponized or used on you later, so you can't share it. And then during your alone time or your downtime, you just fill it with more survival stuff. It felt like there was just no time for anything like that. And when you sort of train that habit that, okay, my time is treated as expendable, throw away. Well, you notice the other person treats their leisure time with a lot of respect and things like that. So here, what if I find a way to attach my time to theirs that way? There's no way it could be taken away, and I created this habit now where when I'm by myself, I can't really even put anything on or anything like that. can't play anything, and I have to learn how to reclaim for myself how to just watch something or enjoy something or just pause and get engrossed in a show or a book or something like that. You know, have a fictional journey. Have, because what I want to do is, I want to be able to talk about my experiences with shows or games and things like that. But all I really have is what I did in the past, or those rare moments where I could find a way to, in quotes, validate my ability to relax or enjoy myself with something without it having to be tied to productivity or look, this is useful, and it was always reinforced by the other person, like, this time is useless, you're not doing anything, you're not. But then, like, when I would become stressed, suddenly the person would be like, why don't you take more time off? Why don't you just take a break? Why don't you just learn to enjoy yourself? Maybe if you just unwind. And then I would try to do that, and then it would be snatched away, and then the person would be like, this is a waste of time. Why are you even doing it? And then that's when I realized, like, okay, this person has no exact value, or even this person, it's just whatever's convenient for them at the moment. It's like, okay, so it's going to be taken away, it's going to be pretended to be given, and then it's going to get snatched away, and blah, 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 blah. But enough of that. That's in the past now. I don't want to dwell on that and become bitter or anything. Just accept it for what it is when it was happening. But now I set those boundaries, and I made it clear the value of the time that I have and my efforts. And that time doesn't need to be validated by someone else. That it is not given to me by someone else, and it's not taken away by someone else. That I can just relax. But now comes the rest of that, which is, learning that I can have those interests on my own. And that I can just turn around, watch something, put something on, that I can read a book. Just, it doesn't all have to be tied to survival. Even if I were to make creativity into a job, you can have a job without that job being tied to survival. You can have a job and it being tied to well-being. You can have a job and it be tied to something additional on top of security. It is a job that provides you both security and the means to survival. But that's not what it's for. It's a nice effect of it, It provides you more time to be creative. But it's not like, if I don't do this, I'll die. Or if I don't do this, I won't have a home anymore. If I don't do this, I'm not going to get to eat. That sure is one motivator to be able to do it. But, you know, it would be nice. I could see a future like that. I could envision a future like that. I don't see one right now, but I could envision something like that. But not everything has to be tied to survival. Not everything has to be tied to, you can just have leisure time. And if it provides you another benefit on top of that, that's great. You know? If it does contribute to your survival, if it does, but I just have to recognize I do have time. I do have time where there's nothing else I can do. There's nothing else to. You just have to wait. And you can just enjoy something. Things don't have worth just because they're going towards survival. Or things don't have worth just because they contribute to bare necessity, you know? It's alright to have something for your mentality, your enrichment, to make your life more interesting, to improve how you think about your life, and that's just as valuable. Improve the maintenance of your life, and that helps you to open up and find even more possibilities on how to live. It's amazing when they can all provide for each other. And I'd like to find something like that. On the rare instances where I do listen back to these afterwards, after I've said them, which I should probably do more of, I realize I tend to sound really down and wispy. That's just kind of my natural voice a lot of the time, which probably wouldn't be great for customer service. But, I gotta make a list of my interests and what I want to get into or talk about. Because there are things I've wanted to talk about. TV shows, games that, even though I haven't gotten to play them and I probably won't get to play them, I've at least seen them and watched them, and I can form some form of opinion about it from a distance without having to play it, And I'll probably do that at some point. But today, there's definitely some things that I want to get done, and I won't have time to record this later. Oh yeah, I was talking about thumbnails earlier. And, it's supposed to be just a casual thing. Just like a warm-up almost. And, yesterday I felt myself like, no, I gotta force it. I have to get this many thumbnails, and I have to do this amount, and I have to prove to myself that I can do that. And it's like, no, that's not what this is for. Don't spend your effort on this part. Move on from that part. You've warmed up now. Your body is telling you, okay, I'm ready to get into the thing that I actually want. This is not prove you're a failure or a success based on this. This is just supposed to be something simple. Just duplicate the doodle you made now and use it for the rest and move on. Don't spend 20 minutes now, whereas all your other doodles were like 5 minutes, 4 minutes. Don't spend 20 minutes now trying to make the perfect doodle. Just move on. And the same thing with the banner for this channel. The banner for this channel, I drew that group of people, And then I was like, oh, nice. And then I was too tired to continue on. And then I took a rest and came back like, I'm going to add more people. And then I realized I was trying to like make it perfect with what I already added and all that. And then I realized like, no, that's not going to work. Instead, what you should probably do is just start a new one. Start a new one without this group of people on it and just scribble out a new group. Don't worry about cohesion. Don't worry about trying to, and then you'll put them together later in whatever way, as lazy or as casual as you want to be, and just like stick them together like two pieces of a puzzle. Just edit them together. You're not trying to prove anything to yourself right now. You're not trying to do anything like that. And so that's probably what I'm going to do with that. One thing that I've really been interested in is, and I've seen it brought up on like different channels and things like that, is like hop into our Discord community and find people who are talking about this stuff or chatting, and I don't know what to do with that kind of stuff. But it's just because of one bad experience, or actually multiple bad experiences in the past. But they were all with people who really we were just sort of obligated to have a chat together, and in the end just got ignored, or it's that thing you see where like everyone's joking and like haha, and then you try to add into it and suddenly just radio silence, and then someone could pop in, even say the exact same thing you said, and then all of a sudden everyone lights up again, and it's like, oh, is it just me? Or it always seems like no one's on when you're trying to talk or share interest or anything like that. And that's always how it has been for me. There's just, it's like, did I say something wrong? Did I mess something up? What happened? And so I see these channels where they're like, come talk with us, and we'll share creativity, share your ideas, and or do this and that. And first of all, I don't know. Even when I was in the room with one other person, I always felt isolated and alone. I realize now that that wasn't really that wasn't really my fault, but it is what I grew into, and it's what I was trained and conditioned and to believe in, and to feel and to see, and just how the circumstances were formed around me. And now that I'm looking, and now that I have that choice, and now that I'm making that choice and realizing I could have made that choice, that it's not evil, that it's not wrong, that there is options out there, and but I don't know where to begin. And my fear is telling me that it's just going to be another situation where, I don't want to pop in and be the star, or, drown me in your attention and your admiration and all that. But I could go for zero, where before I was at a negative. I was at a negative where it was just being ignored, just being completely just silence, completely, utterly unnoticed. And even when I do try to interact, just that's it. Just nothing. Absolutely nothing. Even in the middle of everyone being active. And, and then all of a sudden it's like it disappears, and then. Or even those rare times where, I had to make an inconvenient request, or things like that, or even just ask for advice, and then just nothing, just completely ignored. And then, someone I'm repeating myself, I'm a broken record on that. But I want to find something like that. Do I have to be alone? I don't think I have to. I don't think I have to be alone. If that's what I have to do, I'll accept that. And I mean more alone in I have 5 cats, but they're not much for conversation or sharing interests. They're more for love and affection, but they're more for a certain kind of relationship, but you know, they're limited in what they're able to, and I'm limited in what I'm able to for them as well. And I can't there's so much I can't expect from them. Like, why would I? They're cats. There's so much they can give me, and I love and appreciate them in every way that they can, but there's just an alone that they can't fix. And I wonder about that. I haven't looked because I don't know where to look. And when I think of something, I'm just afraid that I'm gonna be the one who's just sitting in the corner looking in. Or that I'm gonna be the odd one out, or the one that nobody gets along with, or. But how would I know when I haven't done it? I'm just trying to protect myself, I guess. The person that was here, they even offered to buy me something, but only as an appeasement, as a sort of love bomb thing. They'd always belittled the idea of it before. Always dismissed it, treated it as useless, meaningless. And then all of a sudden, when the person thought that they could get something out of it, they started trying to use it as a tool, one of those weaponized gifts with a lot of strings attached. And I thought to myself, it's like, I know you don't really care about this. And so I decided, like, and on top of that, the person was like, yeah, you pick it out. Why don't you go through and pick your thing? And there are instances where someone legitimately is emotionally, like, they want to get you something, but they know they never get you the right thing, and things like that. And they think, and then they know you're disappointed, and so they're like, well, here, I'll give you some money and you can get it, or tell me what it is and I'll try to. But then when I was little, I thought that's what it was. But as I grew up, I saw this person, when they got attached to a relationship and they were in that love bombing phase, and I saw them. Suddenly, they were very capable of giving gifts and knowing what the other person wants and being super duper thoughtful, and taking the time and putting in hours and hours of research and getting so giddy and excited all of a sudden, at least on the surface, just like practically hyperventilating and gift wrapping and all kinds of things like that, and like, and then that I would all just die the moment they looked towards me. And then the person would get things that they wanted, present them to me like, here's your present, even though I had never expressed interest in this thing before or anything like that. But I knew that they did, and they wanted it, and so they would buy things that they wanted and then give it to me. But ultimately, they were the only one who was ever going to use it. And after all, seeing all those things, suddenly, and after setting boundaries, the person suddenly saying that they were gonna, that like, look up that thing you wanted. Well, first off, it tells me that you knew I wanted it in the first place, even though before you would always, dismissed it, that kind of thing. And, just that they didn't want to go through the effort of actually looking for it, or researching it, or, just like, what, you do it. You go look it up. Yeah, just like, you go look it up, you find what you want, and then I'll buy it. And then it's like, oh gee, this is like trying to give a kid a piece of candy, or ice cream when they're grumpy. This person's treating my boundaries and things like that. This person's treating the boundary. This person's treating this whole situation as like, oh, you're just upset. You're just tired. You haven't, have you had any fun recently? That kind of thing, and completely divorcing their behavior from it, because they can't recognize it. The person is incapable of recognizing it. So think, oh, you're just angry. You're just grumpy. You're just tired. You're just stressed. Have you not had any sweets recently? Do you need candy? That kind of thing. Do you need playtime? And that'll make you feel better? And it's like, this is a completely sort of like condescending, sort of patronizing thing. And if I accept this, that's its own emotional struggle. Of course, I'd have to separate why the person got it in the first place, separate the strings from it, set boundaries there, just like, I'll take this, but I don't accept the strings or any kind of leverage the person is holding for it. And, that if the person does, they can return it if they want, and all kinds of things like that. But then I just settled on this, which was just, setting a boundary that's like, I don't feel comfortable. I'm uncomfortable with researching and having to pick something that's supposed to be a gift for myself. If you would like to get me a gift, I would like you to choose it. It not that's the bound. Not I would like if you'd like me if you want to get me a gift, please choose it. Or not please, but I had it all worded out before that made it more clear, less leeway. I never got to use it because the person just completely threw it. They forgot about it. They never really, because it was never about gift giving, or there was no emotion, or there was nothing actually tied behind it, so the person just dropped it and never brought it up again. They never really wanted to. It was just for appeasement, so it just disappeared within like a couple days. Just gone. Never brought up again. But, the boundary, it was like, I think I wrote it down so that I wouldn't forget it. Let me see if I can find it. Hold on. Let's see. Screenshot. Did I? Here it is. I'm not comfortable choosing or researching my own gift. If you'd like to give me something, I prefer that you choose it yourself. Of course, I never got to say it because, the person never really meant it in the first place. So it was gone, and now I don't have to worry about it at all. So that much I'm grateful for. I'm worried about the price on this thing going up later on, but it's not worth that. So I'm just I said all of that just to say, I guess in my mind, just reason out, why there are so many things I'm not going to get to play, but I can at least look at it and come to some ideas on it, separate from the experience of directly interacting with it, just interacting with it visually, story, music, and things like that. Forming some thoughts on it. But, yeah, I think that's mostly it. For today, I can't really think of anything else. I'm making myself some food. I have a little bit of graphic designing I can do, and it's not paid, but it's for fun. Something I can do in the meantime while I sort everything else out. And, just be hopeful for support and help, and whether from its outside or doing what I can to try and find a way forward, and yeah. There's recently in the background while I've been working, I've been watching a lot of fun videos that are breaking down like Dragon Ball Z fights in a more realistic way. Though those have been a lot of fun, and just trying to teach myself to just have that kind of fun again, and getting used to it, being able to enjoy myself and have leisure on my own. But I already said all that. I guess I'm just summarizing and just restating, recapping. But yeah, that's it. Pretty soon, hopefully, I'll be able to just talk and think about and sort of audibly journal some interests and things like that. But that's it for today.